In a world where news spreads quickly and opinions are formed in seconds, it's vital to reflect on how our actions impact not only ourselves, but society as a whole. The year has been marked by a series of events that seem to have come straight out of the pages of an ancient book of prophecy. Devastating fires that consume acres of hope, storms that draw the face of nature's fury in the sky, and political crises that shake the structures of our societies. All of this leads us to a question that can no longer be ignored. Are these catastrophic events signaling the end times? With every new climate report, every emergency alert that interrupts regular transmissions, we are confronted with the reality that our world is changing, and perhaps not for the better. The images of burning forests, sunken cities, and people desperate for help are etched into our collective memory, serving as a grim reminder that the Earth is crying out for attention. But what do these signs mean for us? Are we just witnessing the result of centuries of environmental neglect, or is there something deeper, more spiritual going on? While some see these disasters as mere flukes, others interpret them as clear warnings that we are on the cusp of a new era, one that can bring both renewal and ruin. In this video, we're going to explore these questions with the seriousness they deserve. Let's look beyond the headlines and seek to understand not only the physical causes of these disasters, but also what they may be telling us about the state of our spirit and our society. This is an invitation for you to reflect, question, and above all, consider what can be done to alter the course that seems to be charted. So get ready for an in-depth and engaging analysis that goes beyond what is visible to the eye. This is content that promises to not only inform, but also inspire action and hope in a time that seems to be fraught with uncertainty. But it's not just external chaos that worries us. It is the inner turmoil, the sins we commit and that we observe being committed around us. Selfishness, avarice, immorality, blasphemy, these are just a few of the vices that seem to be becoming more and more common. But what are the worst sins of the end times? Those who, if left unchallenged, can lead us to a point of no return. Get ready for introspective reflection as we delve into the depths of these sins, understanding their roots and impacts. Let us reflect together, as a community, on the danger we are in and how we can avoid the temptations of the enemy and of this world. And as we navigate these turbulent waters, let's consider the importance of repentance and pursuing a life of holiness, especially in light of the promise of Jesus' return. Join us on this journey of discovery and reflection, and perhaps together we can find our way to a new dawn. Are you with me on this? Before we dive into this deep discussion, I urge you to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and share this video. Your participation is crucial for us to continue to explore such important and urgent topics. And now, get ready, because we are going to reveal the worst sins of the end times in a journey that promises not only to inform, but also to transform. Be sure to watch until the end and participate in the comments with your reflections and impressions. Ready to get started? Since time immemorial, mankind has beheld the signs that foreshadow the end of an age. And today, more than ever, these signs seem to be manifesting before our eyes. Jesus, in his timeless wisdom, warned us of days when nation would rise against nation, where famines and earthquakes would be as common as the seasons, and where his followers would be persecuted for standing up for the truth. Paul, echoing the words of Jesus, spoke to us of terrible times, where selfishness and avarice would not only be seen, but celebrated, where cruelty would be the norm and love for family, a feeling almost extinguished. These words, which have spanned centuries, find a disturbing echo in our time, a clear reflection in the news that floods our screens and in the stories we hear every day. Are we living in the last days? This is the question that does not want to be silenced. The evidence around us is undeniable, and the need for deep reflection is urgent. This video is more than just a narrative. It is a mirror that reflects the current condition of humanity. It is an invitation to look beyond catastrophes and global trends, to find the true essence of what it means to be human. The catastrophes we witness, whether natural or the result of human action, are like mirrors that reflect not only the state of our planet, but also the state of our collective soul. With every disaster, every news of corruption, every global trend that emerges, we are confronted with the reality that something fundamental is being lost. What we see on TV and the internet isn't just entertainment, it is a thermometer of human morality, a sign of the times we live in. In this scenario, wickedness seems to increase exponentially, and love of neighbor, a commandment as old as humanity itself, is on the decline. We observe, with alarming frequency, acts of selfishness and avarice that go beyond the limits of what is acceptable. Immorality is celebrated in many spheres of society, and blasphemy, once taboo, is now seen as a form of expression. In the face of these signs, we cannot afford to be mere spectators. It is imperative that we seek to understand the impact of these actions and how they are shaping the future of humanity. This video is not just an exposé of the sins that surround us, it is an invitation to reflection and action. We need to ask ourselves, are we contributing to the perdition or to the redemption of mankind? The narrative we're tackling is complex and multifaceted, filled with nuances and layers that need to be unraveled. As we continue to explore the worst sins of the end times, remember that every choice we make, every word we utter, every action we take has the power to change the course of history. And now, more than ever, we need to choose wisely. Selfishness, a sin as old as humanity, has been reinventing itself in the digital age. On social media, he finds fertile ground, where concern for the I outweighs empathy for the we. Screens glow with the achievements of others, each post a showcase of personal successes, often without the slightest regard for the impact they may have on others. On this virtual stage, ostentation has become a sport and comparison an inevitable consequence. The relentless pursuit of approval and attention feeds a vicious cycle of self-aggrandizement and dissatisfaction. But what's behind this curtain of selfies and stories? A deep loneliness and an emptiness that no number of likes can fill. Selfishness, one of the most corrosive sins, has subtly infiltrated our lives, especially through social media. The platform that is supposed to bind us together in communion and sharing often turns into a stage for the display of the self, where compassion and empathy are overshadowed by the brilliance of self-centeredness. The scriptures warn us of the danger of putting ourselves above everything and everyone, warning that such a path leads to perdition. For believers, the challenge is even greater. We are called to be light in the midst of darkness, to show love in a world that celebrates individualism. How can we then navigate these treacherous waters without getting lost? The answer lies in the very essence of the gospel, which teaches us to look outside ourselves, to serve others with a generous heart, and to seek the true wealth that does not accumulate in virtual profiles, but in the kingdom of heaven. In this time of reflection, it is crucial for each believer to examine his or her heart and actions. Are we really living up to the values we profess? Are we building bridges of love and understanding, or are we erecting walls of selfishness and isolation? The commandment to love our neighbor as ourselves has never been more relevant, and it is imperative that we strive to fulfill it, not just in words, but in concrete deeds that reflect the grace and love of Christ. So as we consider the impact of selfishness on our society, let us do some deep introspection. May we be examples of humility and selflessness, showing the world that there is a better way, a way of hope and salvation. May our lives be living testimonies to divine goodness and mercy, and may we inspire others through our actions to seek the true happiness that can only be found in a life dedicated to service and unconditional love. Avarice, this unbridled love of money, has been a slow and silent poison that seeps into the veins of society. It is a sin that does not discriminate, affecting both the rich and the poor, leading many to stray from the path of faith. Avarice blinds the eyes of the heart, turning generosity into greed and contentment into an insatiable thirst for more. In the scriptures, we are warned that the love of money is the root of all evil. When wealth becomes an idol, the soul is impoverished. We see this reflected in the daily news, where corruption and injustice are often fueled by unbridled avarice. And it is not only in the upper echelons of power that this sin manifests itself. It is present in our daily lives, in the small choices we make, in the priorities we set. For believers, avarice is a constant challenge. We are called to be faithful stewards of what has been entrusted to us, to use our resources for the common good and not just for our own benefit. It is a call to live simply and contentedly, finding joy not in the accumulation of possessions, but in the richness of relationships and the peace that comes from living in alignment with divine principles. In this moment of reflection, it is essential for each of us to examine our relationship to the material. Are we laying up treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy, or are we investing in eternal treasures? May our journey against avarice be marked by a generous heart and actions that demonstrate our true faith, a faith that is expressed through love and charity, not just in words, but in deeds that transform lives and restore hope. In the midst of the maelstrom of our age, where money often occupies the throne of our priorities, we are witnessing a crisis of values that threatens the very essence of our faith. Materialistic greed has led many down a path of spiritual loneliness, where the accumulation of wealth becomes more important than the wealth of the soul. This deviation from the divine purpose is an alarming sign of the times in which we live. The lack of faith, a chasm that widens every day, is a reflection of the estrangement from God in our society. We see this in the indifference with which many treat the sacred teachings, in the reluctance to seek a deeper connection with the Creator. Immorality, in turn, spreads like a stain, with the media and social networks normalizing scenes that should be private, turning the sacred into spectacle. Blasphemy, perhaps the gravest of sins, is openly proclaimed in popular entertainments, openly defying the sacred. Soap operas, movies, series, music, and the internet itself are full of examples that mock faith and the divine, eroding the respect for the sacred that should permeate our culture. In the face of these challenges, the believer is called to deep reflection. How can we, in the midst of so much disorder, maintain our integrity and testimony? The answer is not simple, but it begins with acknowledging our own fallibility and constantly seeking to improve, to align ourselves more closely with gospel values. May we be salt and light, positively influencing the world around us, and may our presence be an antidote to the moral decay that surrounds us. And may all that we are bringing light to this moment serve not only as an exposure of the sins that afflict us, but as an invitation to change, spiritual growth, and renewal of faith. May each of us ask ourselves, what do I, as a believer, have to do with this? And may the answer inspire us to live in a way that honors God and blesses those around us. Self-indulgence is an insidious sin that silently creeps into our lives, creating a false sense of security that leads us away from God's true calling. It is the tendency to settle for the bare minimum, to avoid changes and challenges that could lead to spiritual growth and personal transformation. This sin causes us to be content with routine, with mere church attendance, without actively seeking to share God's love with those around us. To blaspheme the Holy Spirit in the context of this sin is to reject the voice that calls us to repentance and renewal. It is ignoring the outstretched hand of God that offers forgiveness and a new chance. When we settle, we close our ears to His voice and our hearts to His transforming grace. Self-indulgence makes us spiritually lethargic, unable to recognize the imminence of Jesus' return and the urgency of living a life that reflects His teachings. In this world filled with distractions and entertainment, it's easy to lose sight of what is eternal. The hours spent in front of screens, the days consumed by ephemeral pleasures can divert us from the path that leads to true life. As believers, we are called to be vigilant, not to be seduced by the comfort that prevents us from acting according to God's will. Let this part serve as a wake-up call for us to awaken from our complacency. May we recognize where self-indulgence has prevented us from fulfilling our calling, and may we make the necessary decisions, even if uncomfortable, to faithfully follow the path that God has laid out for each of us. May our faith be active, our hope alive, and our love a flame that is not extinguished in the face of the trials of this world. Ingratitude, an often overlooked sin, is a serious flaw that reveals a lack of recognition for the blessings received. It manifests itself when we forget to thank those who have reached out to us, when we fail to see God's hand on our journey, and when our hearts close to the gratitude that should flow naturally. In the biblical narrative of the 10 lepers, we are confronted with the harsh reality of human ingratitude. Jesus, in his infinite compassion, healed all 10, but only one returned to express his gratitude. That story resonates to this day, reflecting a pattern of behavior that remains prevalent. Many of us receive help, healing, and blessings, but how many return to give thanks? Ingratitude is not just a matter of good manners. It is a spiritual issue that affects our relationship with God and others. When we don't acknowledge the blessings we've received, when we don't express gratitude, we are, in a sense, rejecting God's generosity and the goodness of those He uses to bless us. As believers, we are called to cultivate a spirit of gratitude, recognizing that all that we have and are is the result of divine grace. May we be like the leper who returned to thank Jesus, living lives marked by gratitude and recognition of the myriad ways God blesses us daily. Let ingratitude be replaced by a grateful heart that sees beyond immediate circumstances and recognizes God's providential hand in all things. As we conclude this video, it is crucial to remember that all of us, followers of religions or not, churchgoers or not, are children of the same living God. We have the ability and the responsibility to be the light in the darkness of the present times. Change starts with us in our local community. Here are 3 practical actions we can all take to make a difference. Number 1, local volunteering. Dedicate your time to helping out at shelters, soup kitchens, or educational centers. Volunteering strengthens community bonds and offers vital support to those in need. Number 2, charity to the most needy. Donate or organize fundraisers to help the most vulnerable. A simple donation can have a significant impact on the life of someone facing difficulties. Number 3, help in social projects. Engage in projects that aim to improve the quality of life in your community. Whether it's teaching skills, offering emotional support, or helping with rehabilitation, your contribution can transform lives. By adopting these initiatives, we not only touch lives individually, but we also plant the seeds for a brighter future. May each of us reflect on how our daily actions can contribute to a better world. Together, we can be the light that guides our community through today's challenges toward a more hopeful and redeemed tomorrow. As we wrap up this journey of reflection and discovery, it's important to remember that each of us has the power to positively influence the world around us. The actions we've discussed here are more than simple gestures. These are steps towards personal and collective transformation. Now I ask you to take with you what you learned and what you felt during this video. If the messages and insights we have shared have resonated with you, if you feel the call to be a part of this change, to be a light in the darkness of these times, then I invite you to join us in this mission. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and be part of our community. Here, we will continue to explore themes that challenge, inspire, and motivate. Together, we can build a future where faith, hope, and love prevail over the sins of the end times. Don't put off the opportunity to make a difference today. Subscribe now, and let's walk together on this journey of faith and transformation. May your decision to join us be the first step toward a brighter, grace-filled tomorrow. Thank you for being with us until the end of the video, and may God bless you infinitely.